Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about what is the meaning of faith in our practice. And maybe many of you were here last week for this Sunday Zen Cafe with Zen Master Debong. He talked about how to practice with your mind light. Yes? So it's very much related, this idea of how we use the brightness of our mind and what faith really means in Buddhism. So an eminent teacher once said that our faith is like, it's like a light. So it's like a light, but it's like a laser beam. So if you have a magnifying glass, a piece of glass that you use to look closely, okay, this magnifying glass will work if a light shines on it. So a beam of light can shine on a piece of magnifying glass. And when that sharp light can hit, let's say, dry grass, that light will burn the grass up through the magnifying glass. So our so-called faith, or this drive in our practice, becomes light. Light is energy. Energy is already inside you. Each of us already has physical energy from our body. Then when we are breathing, we get air energy, 공기, right? Space energy, okay? And then if you can cut off your thinking, return to before thinking, to don't know, you get universal energy, 대기, energy from the cosmic universe, okay? Then your mind light will automatically shine. When this light shines, we say 법신, right? 법신 shines, your mind light shines, it's burning off all our negative karma, like dry grass being burnt by this laser beam of light. So this magnifying glass is our mirror-like true nature, okay? Moment to moment, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you taste, touch, smell? Moment to moment experience. So I want to share a story. Maybe some of you already know this story. It's called the banyan deer. So long time ago, there was a beautiful deer, a banyan deer. He was a magnificent deer and a leader of his herd. He was the king of the deer. And they lived in this beautiful forest of fields and mountains in a very, very wonderful, beautiful kingdom. But the problem was that the king loved hunting. He loves to shoot the arrow and get deer, boar, birds, any kind of animal. He loves to shoot, catch them, and come back to the palace and, you know, claim prize. Yes, we've caught these animals. We're so strong. Okay. He enjoyed hunting. So many of the deer, you know, all the animals in the forest were so scared. And finally, they were being caught so much that even the villagers and the people in the town, they were not happy because the king and his men would ride through their farms and their lands, graze the grass and everything. And, you know, everybody was complaining. So some of the ministers decided, okay, this is going overboard. So let's herd up some of the deer, really beautiful deer, some of 2 herds. Let's collect them in one area. And the king can go there and every day he can just shoot one of the deer easily. Then he doesn't have to go around the mountain and disturb the farms and the lands and other people's properties. So they caught 2 herds of beautiful, magnificent deer, hundreds of them, put them in this big area, and then told the king, Your Majesty, you can freely hunt every day from this crowd of deer. And he says, okay, great idea. So when the herd of deer gathered together, the banyan deer was one of the king, and there was another leader deer. So they came together and they decided, okay, if we don't work together, we're all going to get slaughtered all the time. So let's sacrifice one deer at a time. So each side, each herd took a straw and they would make a draw. So one day it would be one deer from this herd that was sacrificed to be shot with an arrow. The next day, the next herd would have one deer that was sacrificed for the king. So this was going on, and the other deer were so scared. Even they were, running around trying not to get hurt. They would be so scared they would hurt each other by trying to hide or run away, and they couldn't hide. So much suffering. So every day a deer would be sacrificed. The king would shoot the arrow. The deer would be killed. Every day another deer would appear. And finally, one day there was one deer who was pregnant with a fawn, a baby deer in her belly. And she was up to be sacrificed. So she came to the noble deer king in the other herd and said, please, please, could you spare me until my baby is born? I will wait, but you can take me after my baby's born. And the king said, no, it's our rule. So you can't defy the rule. So she was very, very sad, this mother deer. So she finally went to the banyan deer king, the other herd. She went to the other herd and asked, please, please, banyan deer king, you are a noble king. Please spare me. Please have compassion. Until my baby fawn is born, could you please not have me killed right away? Just a few more weeks. So the banyan deer king decided, you're right. I will take care of it. So the next day, the banyan king deer went in front of the king, the human king. He stood right in front. His antlers were very big. He stood there, not moving. And he said, now it's my turn. And the king looked at him and said, wait a minute. You're the king of the herd. You're not supposed to be the one to get killed. Where is your other deer? And he said, I cannot let the female deer die because she's pregnant. So I will die instead. Then the king was very taken by this noble gesture because the deer was not afraid. He had no fear in his eyes, but he stood very strong, very tall. Okay. And he was completely accepting of his situation. And he said, I have no choice. I am the leader. I must protect my herd no matter what. Then the king said, wait a minute. You are very noble. And because of your noble gesture, actually, I don't want to kill you. So why don't I, as a gesture of your great teaching, I will let your herd be free. Is that good? Then the deer king said, actually, your majesty, no, it's not enough. And the king said, what? He said, if only my herd is saved, then the other herd will be slaughtered in half the time. They will be killed much sooner, all of them. So this cannot be possible. I must still die instead of them. Then the king heard that and said, okay, you're right. So all of your herds can be free. Okay. And the deer still didn't move. He said, no. Actually, all of the animals on this mountain, in this forest, the boars, the ducks, the foxes, the piggies, the rabbits, they are also in fear of being killed by you and your hunters every day. They suffer. So I cannot let them be killed instead. Then the king heard this and said, wow, you are really testing me. But you are right. Okay, then we will not hunt those animals anymore. I will make a decree so that none of those animals are hunted anymore. And then the deer finally said, well, actually, could you also include all the birds in the sky? And the ones you don't hear are all the animals in the ocean. You cannot hear their voices. So please include all the living creatures in the water, the sky, and on the earth. Then the king started to have tears in his eyes and cried and said, how can you, a deer, move my mind in such a way? I will do as you say. You are my teacher. So the king made a decree and said, all living creatures in this kingdom are never to be hunted or slaughtered ever again. So that's the story of the banyan deer. And it's actually one of the former lives of Buddha Shakyamuni himself. So why is this story so interesting? I love this story because what is true faith? What does faith mean? So many different religions talk about faith as in believing in something. So we often have this idea that faith is believing in something outside or some idea, some concept, some belief system, okay, some doctrine, okay, something written in stone that cannot be changed. Sometimes it's in a book. So if it's written down, it must be true, you know. So we have this idea that we have to believe in something and that is faith. But actually in studying the Dharma, studying Buddha's teaching and practicing the Dharma, faith is something different. So in the training of a bodhisattva, there are 4 kinds of faith. So the first faith is called vivid faith. It's a very kind of basic experience, maybe all of you already have. It means when you first hear a Dharma talk, read a teaching, hear something about what is life, what is death, what the Buddha said. Maybe you hear this deer story for the first time and you wonder, what does this mean? So something we encounter hits a chord in our heart. Something goes in our consciousness and we say, wow, maybe I don't really understand what that means, but it's very interesting. I want to know more. We call it vivid faith because it's a vivid, visceral experience. You experience this incredible opening in our mind. This light of our mind starts to open, to shine a little bit, to come out. So it's just like, you know, many times you've heard teachers say, it's like the blue sky that's very clear, like today, the sky is beautiful and clear. The sunlight hits and the sky is clear and clouds move away, then you have this great opening. So vivid faith is like that kind of experience we have. Wow, what is this thing called Buddha's teaching? You were like in the dark for so long, very hard to understand why I suffer all the time. Why is my life like this? Why I have so much thinking? Why am I so miserable? And suddenly you hear one word, poof, poof, wakes you up a little bit. You have some taste, okay? Then what that does is it ignites some interest, some curiosity. I want to know more about this. I want to find out. And that becomes eager faith. Okay, eager faith. In Korean, we can call it 생생한 신심 is the first one. 생생한 신심이 생겨서 그 다음에는 그것이 진지한 신심. So first you have some vivid experience like excitement. And then the next part is 진지해져요. We become very earnest. We become a little bit more sincere, maybe a little bit more mature, relaxed, and we want to meet the teacher who gave this talk. Maybe you see a picture of Zen Master Daebong in Facebook and you say, I want to know what he's talking about. I want to meet him. I want to practice with him. So you get this great desire for learning. Find out, what is this? What am I? I want to find out. Okay, that's an earnest faith becomes deeper. When you act on this faith, okay, which propels us to continue to find practice, then we come to what's called confident faith. 자신감 있는 신심이죠. 자신감. So confident faith means you hear the teaching, you practice some method, you hear instruction, you put it into practice, and then you experience something. And one of the most important things in this moment is you have a taste of what is cause and effect. What is cause? Something appear, condition, in what situation, and as a result, what happens in your life. So before you understand how some kind of suffering appear in your life, now you understand how that happened. So cause and effect is always clear. You taste it a little bit. So you taste the truth of Buddhist teaching. But for many of us who are practicing, the confidence faith is the time when we actually start to have a lot of problems. We don't always feel confident. We lose steam, we lose motivation, we lose our direction. Not clear because we don't really see clearly sometimes what we're doing and how we're doing it. So consistency in our practice is very important. That's why we meet week after week, 365 days a year, okay? That's why we say practice a little bit every day, a little bit, like a drop of water, drop of water, drop of water, okay? Because consistency will bring you clarity eventually. You do, one Kelte, 90 days, and then you don't practice for 9 months. You have to start all over again from the very beginning. So moment by moment by moment, seamlessly, what is this? Return. So when we establish our practice, set root our practice in our very being, in our 24 hours a day, in our daily life, on the cushion and off the cushion, then confidence turns into the final faith, which is irreversible faith. Irreversible faith is 돌이킬 수 없는 신심이 된다. Yeah. Final faith means completely believing in not only your true self, but in your practice because it works for you. Not believing because it's an intellectual idea. That will not last. You completely have no hindrance at all because the practice is what you are. You are the practice is you. So this final irreversible faith means your faith is so, let's say, well established, whether it's in your sleep, whether you're awake, whether your body is hurt, okay, whether your body is here or not, okay, elements disappear, doesn't matter. It means even at the cost of your own life, okay, you are not hindered. So the noble, banyan deer, the king of deer, had this incredible faith. Even at the cost of his own life, I will vow to save all beings from suffering. That was his faith. And in front of that, no king could actually slay him. So even the human king, when he saw this noble characteristic of the deer, the king himself had to give in. So true faith means not only believing in your true self, okay, but because we practice and attain our true self, our true nature, it can never be taken away. It's irreversible. Okay. So when we talk about faith in practice, Zen practice, and in Buddhism, these four aspects of what we will call faith is just teaching words. But all of these are happening moment to moment to moment as we practice and in our daily life. Do you 100% believe by doing it right here, right now? Or do you doubt? Do you check? Do we have a good feeling, bad feeling, and we always get wavering back and forth? So perceive, how is my mind moving? So if we have this really clear taste of experience in our life, okay, then the root of that experience, okay, gives you courage. And that courage gives you refuge. That refuge is in the three jewels, in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Okay, Buddha, because we experience our true nature, return to before thinking. Dharma, when we hear the teaching, truth as just as it is, you attain. Sangha is through our action, moment to moment, in our daily life.